My name's Rachel Massey. I'm the Executive Director of the UNO Alumni Association. And today we have a really special treat. We've partnered with our favorite team, Privateer Athletics, to bring you a little glimpse of Privateer basketball through the ages. So I'm thrilled that all of you are here. Thank you so much. Today we do have a panel moderator, guest moderator. Jude is moderating. He's the Privateers, Jude Young. You can catch him on the Privateer Sports Network on NASH, Icon 106.1 FM. He's also the co-founder of CrescentCitySports.com. And Jude, we really appreciate you being with us today. Obviously, Erwin, Eric, Celeste, we really appreciate all y'all being here. We're absolutely thrilled. I know we're waiting for two more panelists to jump on, but I'm going to hand it over to Jude at this point. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you, Rachel. Certainly appreciate that, and it's great to be able to reach out to the great alumni of the University of New Orleans and talk a little bit about recent and past history of success for UNO men's basketball, the flagship program of UNO athletics. And we have people that have made great things happen, that have made championships happen at the University of New Orleans over the years, two coaches and two players that you can't talk about the history of UNO basketball past and present without talking about these guys. And we await to see if we can get Coach Floyd hooked up with us, and Coach Schlesinger's away trying to make that happen right now, so we can start off and talk to two former conference players of the year who led UNO basketball teams into the NCAA tournament. We start with one that was recently voted through the first 50 years of UNO basketball as the greatest player in the history of Privateer men's basketball, Irvin Johnson, whose story is really well known by basketball fans, not just Privateer fans, as somebody who came to the game late, a growth spurt after not even playing in high school at Block High School in Louisiana, walks into Tim Floyd's office looking for an opportunity to play basketball, go to college, and the rest is history. Irvin, we can't thank you enough for taking time away from what you're doing right now, still working in the world of basketball, to join us for this webinar. Could you just give us an update of what you're up to these days? You're certainly busy still working in the world of basketball.
Yes, glad to be part of it. I'm just enjoying my family, first of all. My two daughters, one of them just graduated from college, about to go to grad school, and then my other one is got a year and a half left, and she's going to go to law school. Enjoying them. Coronavirus has caused them to come back home early. So I've been enjoying running and working out with them and doing community service. And then I do a lot of training with kids. I'm still around a lot of kids, trying to develop them into the best basketball player they could possibly be. So pretty much that's it, enjoying retirement as well.
And retirement after 13 years in the NBA, playing in the NBA Finals, being UNO's only NBA first-round draft pick to date, and somebody that fans still fondly remember, somebody who more recently was able to do some of the things that you were able to do as a Privateer. Eric Thomas is working and playing professionally now, but it was just a few years ago, 2016-2017 season to be precise, where Eric was a leading scorer and Southland Player of the Year in bringing UNO back to the NCAA tournament for the first time in 2 decades. Like with Irvin, different paths here, but you had to go the hard way, the hard route to make it, improve yourself in basketball. You never doubted yourself, and it really came together in your 2 years on the lakefront. Eric, now you're working on your professional career as a native of Argentina. You're getting an opportunity to play professionally there, aren't you?
Yeah, like you said, I had it was always a grind to get where I got to. Nothing's really ever handed to you. You got to work to get there. So out of high school, I was able to go. I went JUCO my first 2 years, and I was able to get a look from UNO. I saw I had Coach Berg and Coach Spears at the moment were recruiting me. We're at all of my games almost, and I just like that family environment that they kind of like gave me before I even came to the school. And then it just, over there, it just kind of took off. I set a goal for myself. I set, a mission for for, you know, with the team, what we wanted to accomplish. And, you know, we just had a real good, like I said, family environment to get there my senior year. And it was just a journey. It was, you know, a lot of grinding, lots of sacrifices to get to where we got to. And I was just happy that I was able to do it with the guys that I was with that year. And then, you know, the whole pro route, you know, it continues. But basically, you can't rely on a team for 4 years. You just constantly have to get there and do what you got to do to stay in shape. You know, that's what the transition from being a collegiate player to a pro player, I think. So I'm just happy that, you know, I'm thank God I'm in the place I'm in now. Like you said, outside of this coronavirus, you know, I'm able to spend time with the family. I have, you know, the little nephews, sister, parents here. So I'm just enjoying the time with them.
Right, taking advantage of the time. Not the most convenient situation for a lot of people out there, but chance to spend more time with family. And it's great that you're both able to do that and at the same time keep grinding at what you're doing. Of course, Eric's still working on his career. We'll get to Irvin's NBA career in a moment as well, but I want to let everybody know that's joining us has already joined the chat that you can put your questions in the webinar chat here, and we'll try to get to them for the players and coaches once they're able to join us. Coach Celeste still working on helping Tim Floyd come in, but we can continue with Irvin and talk about the professional career and having to keep earning it, not guaranteed to be somewhere for 2 years, 4 years when you go to a university. In the NBA and professional basketball, you don't know where you're going to end up. And in your 13 years, you wound up playing with 5 different teams. But I think that work ethic, that starting from scratch and making yourself a great college basketball player and a first-round pick served you well when you went to the next level and still does in your professional life, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The work ethics would never leave me. You know, I still grind it and work hard at everything I try to do. When I went to UNO, you know, I was older than all the other players because I worked for 3 years before I even got to the campus. And then I had to work hard to catch up for my development. And then when I got drafted in the NBA, it's the same thing. It never stopped. And I don't think it will ever stop for me because I'm going to work hard. And, you know, sometimes you might be less skilled, you know, or some other person might be a little bit better than you in certain ways, but you have to continue to work. I would never let nobody outwork me. I don't care who it is. And my mindset is to grind it out and do what I need to do to survive. And that's what I did in the NBA, you know, started off with Seattle and played 3 years there. And then I went to the Nuggets for 1 season and had a great year with the Nuggets. And then I spent 7 years with Milwaukee and then 2 years with Minnesota. So the grinding and movement was okay with me. That's part of the NBA. But, you know, I'm just so happy that I was able to work and play for 13 years and grind it all out.
It's no mistake that you were successful because you played in a program built by Tim Floyd at the time that was all predicated on hard work, playing hard at both ends of the floor, and being successful every day throughout the year to have a chance to be successful during games. As Coach Mark Schlesinger joins us, going into a full decade as the head coach of the Privateers now, and talk about hard work and having to struggle to be able to set up the way you wanted your program to be. When you came to UNO, it was difficult times for UNO athletics. You were hired to coach a Division II basketball team. You always felt coming here, getting your first head coaching opportunity at the NCAA level, that UNO was a Division I job. You were a Division I coach, and you had to change on the fly and make that happen and bring UNO back to a championship level. I think folks who follow the program know the hard work that's gone into that, and it's a day-to-day thing, isn't it? It's the hard work that's instilled in players like Eric Thomas who go on to be successful in life because of the day-to-day work ethic that you instill in your program and continue to do.
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey for sure to see where we were when I got here and the state that the program was in, and just me growing up being just a basketball junkie. I knew I read every magazine there was and knew all the history of, you know, the university before I came, and knew how big a deal it was. And I talk about it a lot, that there's some big ghosts that look down upon me up in those rafters. And I still get, you know, excited about the idea that I'm in Coach Coach Benny D's office and Coach Tim Floyd's office. It's a huge deal to me, and it's such an honor to continue to try to maintain and get it back. But just to be where we were then, and for Dr. Peter Foss to come in and make such a bold decision and brave decision for us to stay at that level, it was huge. And then the credit really goes to the players or student athletes that bought in all those years when we weren't eligible for postseason. We were on all the penalties that went with it. For them to continue to buy in, to work hard, and my coaching staff to continue to invest in these guys. It's been an amazing journey, and one that's been one of the most proudest things in my life to be able to experience and to be a part of. And it's my home. I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to continue to be the coach and be the leader for our program and really this coaching ministry that we have, in trying to invest in our student athletes to make them the best, husbands, fathers, and leaders they can be down the road. And it's pretty awesome to see, Mr. Irvin and see Eric and see them at the places they're at. It's awesome.
We see Dr. Foss, as you mentioned him in the chat, and he's certainly been a supporter of the program even after leaving the head job at the University of New Orleans. And we certainly appreciate him and what he did to support UNO athletics to be where it is today. And Coach, keeping with the theme with you, talk a little bit about getting to the point to be able to compete at the very top of the Southland Conference, because when you go through that much trouble as a university and as an athletic department, it makes recruiting difficult. Folks don't know if you're going to be stable. So it was really a long road to find the right kind of player that was willing to invest in the University of New Orleans, and you were willing to invest in, knowing that they were going to take the long, hard route to build a championship team like we saw in 2016, 2017. And somebody like Eric Thomas, a grinder, was always having to prove himself to folks, is a prime example of what that team was all about and what you want your program to be all about moving forward as well.
It was amazing. It was an amazing journey. And I think as coaches, Coach Floyd has talked about it a lot, that, sometimes you work hard and you get really lucky. And I think he's talked about, the lucky day that Irvin walked in his office. And I still remember me going up to Baton Rouge Community College to see Eric, and his mother was in visiting him, and my dad was in visiting me. My dad actually grew up in Mexico, speaks fluent Spanish. His mother, obviously, from Argentina. And so that they were as good of recruiters for me with Eric as anybody. Just, there was a lot of serendipity in it. And sometimes God looks out for you and gets you with the right people. And, I think that the fact that we were able to get guys to buy into being selfless, to be hard workers, and to really be a blue-collar group has been, the reason for a lot of our success. And you look at what our university and our city's built upon, that's so much of the same tenets that makes those things successful. So it's been amazing, but the credit goes to the players. And, Eric was one of the special ones. You got to get, and as a coach, you've got to get one or two of those special guys that can take you from good to great. And I was lucky to have several of those guys, like Coach Floyd was as well. And, for me, Eric was that guy who really believed in what we were doing. But more than anything else, I heard a lot of stories about Irvin in that gym, whether it was with Coach Sanderson, Coach Johnson, all those guys doing the mic and drill, one-on-one, all that stuff, Irvin, that I've heard 100 times over. And Eric was the same story. Eric was in that gym by himself in that back gym day after day after day. When everyone else went home, he was still in there. And so, I'm only as good as the players, and I've been really lucky to have some special ones.
And it's no coincidence the guys who get to the gym first and leave it last tend to be the most successful, like Irvin Johnson, who started from scratch. He had that 8-inch growth spurt after high school. You go up to 6'11" at that point, but you had no basketball background. Tim Floyd needed height, gave you an opportunity, and you earned it from there. I want to first point out a couple of shout-outs from former teammates who are joining in on the webinar today. Michael McDonald, saying it was a pleasure to play with you and both Tim Floyd, Mike up in Texas. We were able to connect with him on some UNO road trips, and it's great to hear from him today. And Fred Hill, who's in local coaching now, is in the chat as well. And he has a question for you, Irvin. What was the most gratifying experience amongst the 5 NBA teams that you played for? Which one did you have the best experience with, the most memorable moments with as well?
I would say starting off with Seattle, NBA Finals, and it was a great experience. I love that team. I learned so much about myself and the team because my rookie season, we got out in the first round. The Denver Nuggets put us out in the first round, and we was like 63-19. And then the next year, we lost in the first round again against the Lakers. And then the third year, we brought back pretty much the same team. It was just a new feeling in the locker room, and camaraderie and all of that was different. And we went to the NBA Finals. But another one I would say outside of Seattle was the Minnesota Timberwolves with Kevin Garnett. They lost, I want to say, 6 or 7 straight years out in the first round and going there playing with him. And I remember, God bless the dead, Flip Sanders was the coach. He called me and said, "You've been traded to our team." And I said, "We're coming out of the first round." And he said, "I want to do more." I said, "Yes, we will." And they wasn't expecting me to play a lot of minutes or anything like that. I was kind of a throw-in deal with Sam Cassell and Spreewell. So I ended up starting all those games with those guys, and we went to the Western Conference Final and lost to the Lakers in Game 6. And they ended up going to the NBA Finals. So I would say those 2 teams was the great teams that I say was the most experienced and gratifying for me.
And we were looking for you during the Last Dance documentary. I bet you didn't want to watch that part when they got to the Bulls in '96. You were on a great team that year, but running into perhaps the best single-season team in the history of the league, although you made it a finals after a slow start. I know that's disappointing to look back on, but a memory you'll never forget. I mean, how many people get to play in the NBA Finals? You represented the University of New Orleans in the NBA Finals.
I agree. It was, I enjoyed playing in the finals, but you said the Chicago Bulls that year was just so much better. We just got to give it to them. It was so much better, and they deserved it, and they beat us. But we was a team that was a very deep team as well. It was just that we just ran into the Chicago Bulls. It was just a little bit better. And I'm so grateful for that, that opportunity and watching it, the Last Dance and seeing Michael and all of that. I enjoyed that whole episode. It brought back a lot of memories.
When we talk about making it as a professional, it really starts when you first get into the game and how much work you're going to put into it, what obstacles you're going to overcome. When I think of Eric Thomas, you look at your background, Eric, you come from a basketball family. You were so good in high school, and yet you couldn't get the major colleges to notice you. Coach Sless mentioned seeing you up at Baton Rouge Community College. That was your sophomore year of college. You had already been at another school before that, just trying to get eyes on you while you worked on your game. Just talk about that experience and how much you had to keep grinding and know you wanted it in order to put up with the disappointments that came before finally winding up at UNO and having great success.
Well, it was a long road. It was a long road to get to where I got to. Coming out of high school, like you said, I had got a lot of achievements, a lot of goals that I was trying to get to. Usually your senior year, you don't play AU. I played just to play with my friends, ended up getting hurt, tore my ligaments in my ankle. I had a couple of looks from schools, but it was, a lot of them wanted me to redshirt. So I went the JUCO route first year. I was in Georgia, East Georgia State. It wasn't a school that I really enjoyed. So I transferred to Baton Rouge. And then there, I was under Coach Wilson, Ricky Wilson, and he just was telling me just to, keep grinding. He saw my work ethic. He saw my film. One of my old teammates referred me to him before when he was recruiting me. So I was able to get there. I had a whole bunch of accolades that year. I was able to make that conference tournament to get to Hutch. We ended up losing to the number 1 team in the conference by on a buzzer beater. So it was tough. Berg was at that game as well. So he was so he was a lot of those games when he was recruiting me. And then, you know, just not getting a lot of looks out of my first and second JUCO. You know, like I said, that family-oriented, having Berg at all those games. Spears at the moment was recruiting me as well. He was calling me almost every other night. Being able to just have that family-oriented environment that, you know, UNO brought for me. And then, you know, had Sless and his dad come to Baton Rouge. Like he said earlier, it was a great sales pitch, especially with my mom. You know, he had his dad and my mom's, they were talking, and my mom was already bought in. So, you know, I called Spears later on that night, and then, you know, told him I wanted to commit, and I was ready to buy into their program and you know, Slush's plans and what he had in plan for the team.
And
so
Coach,
it was a rough road. It was a rough road. It wasn't easy, but you know, I'm grateful to where I am now, being able to play under Slush, and get to where I got to, grind how I grinded. You know, like they said, we it wasn't easy for us, but we're blue collar guys that were able to achieve our goals and get to where we got to with the team that we had.
and that is a part of UNO history, really, that Coach Sless, just by his motto and his style, continued. When you look back to teams under Tim Floyd, Tick Price, really successful for a decade's worth of UNO basketball that saw championships and postseason tournaments. They were always built on defense, high nationally in scoring defense. And Coach Sless, that was really important for you too. And when the team, when it arrived at 2016, 2017, Eric was a senior. You had 3 4-year guards that I know you want to talk about and praise the hard work they did to improve over 4 years. And the team really came together without having that type of success, because in the end, it was a cohesive unit. That blue collar attitude that you stress so much about your program really showed, or you don't win that many games, win a regular season title, win the conference tournament with all the chips on the line to go to the NCAA tournament as well.
It really was something that's special. I think, you know, these pieces come together, and you put your work in and your daily grind together, and to see them all come together is amazing. And I thought what Irvin said earlier was really insightful, because sometimes as a coach you think there's a magic drill or play or something that you can go into, and a lot of times it's just the resolve of the guys in the locker room. And so what he was saying about, you know, they went to the finals, he said there was just a different feel. And I think Eric can attest to that too. When Eric came back for his senior year, he was coming off an injury where he had put in a ton of work to get through that. And I just think that we had there was a different feel. And whether that's maturity, experience, commitment, love, all those things that go with it, sometimes it's just that. But for us, I think the anchor will always be our defensive play. And seeing those things come together, being able to create offense through defense, has always been a huge piece of it. I know that was always a huge factor for Coach Floyd as well, in their groups. And for us, it's the basis and the bedrock of who we are, by how we're going to guard and how we're going to dictate the game and the pace. We're going to set those tones and set those speeds. We're not going to allow other people to do it.
And that takes a lot of unselfishness. And Eric, when you talk about your teammates, the way the team was built offensively, it really set up the forwards to have a great deal of success. I mentioned those senior guards you played with. On both ends of the floor, they had to be real team players. They were good players, and they really wanted to win. And they helped set you up for success, and therefore the whole team to reach the success that it had that season.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had, you know, guys around me. I had, you know, that were there for 4 years. So it was already had that commodity, that, you know, that feel to it, like he said, that knowing coming in that senior year, we were on a mission. You know, I had Nate was experienced guard. I had, you know, Tay. I had Tevin. You know, we had a lot of seniors that had that big role, and each one knew what they brought to the table, you know. And we actually sat down right before we went home before the summer, and had a team meeting, and, you know, we all wrote down our goals, what we wanted to do, a lot of guys. wanted to obviously win the conference tournament. On mine, I had wrote down, that I wanted to win Player of the Year. And a lot of guys were just kind of like looking at me, funny, laughing, whatever it was, and I was like, okay, I'm going to put that work in. Especially coming off that injury, I had to hurt my hand, so I had to use my left hand for everything. Coach Schmitty, Coach Corey, at the moment was helping me recover, get my treatment. Nick was helping me with everything I needed on the doctor part of it. And I was able to recover, and I came back. I was working out in Seattle. I was able to come back and, just being able to show all the hard work I put in that whole summer. I was training out there every day, 3 times a day almost, getting my shot a lot better, trying to tune my game a lot, and just make my craft better, just to show guys that, I'm serious about what I want to do and accomplish what I wanted to do. So coming that summer, we are in open gyms, practices, individuals, and I'm just trying to dominate everything I do, show all the hard work that I put in just to get to, where we wanted to get to as a team. And then the rest, just came along with it. The winning games, the enjoying the great times. We have stories for days. I'm sure Coach Celeste has a bunch, just like Irvin has them during his time, about the great times that you spend with your teammates. We all still talk to each other. We still have the same group message from the year we won the championship. So all those guys, we still talk to each other almost every other day. And it's great to have that, that family environment. We're all brothers. We all are there for each other no matter what. So just happy that I was able to get that from that year as well.
And that bond that you share when you play together as a team on the Division I level, as privateers in this particular case. I'd like to get a feel for that, as we have at least a couple of former teammates in the chat following Irvin Johnson. And for you, Irvin, when you came in, you started from scratch and you played on an undersized team that still won conference championships. You played with guys who won Conference Player of the Year honors like Tony Harris and Tank Collins. And then you were surrounded with great teammates, including Melvin Simon, Gerald Williams, Ernie Mason, guys who were able to go ahead and put together another 26-win season to match the best in UNO history. I'm sure you still have a great bond with a lot of those former teammates.
Yes, the thing about it is there's no Irvin Johnson without those guys. I don't care what nobody say. Yes, I was a good player, but it's all about the other guys that makes you the player that you are, that you become. You know what I'm saying? Because we practice every day hard. We hung out with each other. So I'm not going to take all the credit for it. I had a good coaching staff. I had great teammates. You as good as the people you put around you, and Tim Floyd put a lot of good players around me. So, yes, I was the main focus of it and all of that, but it was those other guys, the guards. Melvin Simon passed me the ball inside, Fred Hill, Darren Lash, all those Tony and all those guys was just a big part of me. I'm not going to ever just say it's all about me. Yes, I put the time and the work in, but I got to give credit to my teammates, because you can't win without teammates. You can't win 1-on-5. It's 5-on-5 and the players coming off the bench. And that's what it was all about for me.
And there's no doubt you can't go 18-0 in conference play without a good team around you. Reflect on that season. Reflect on that season for us that wound up having the Privateers ranked in the top 25, your senior year. You're an All-American and going on that win streak and all the great success and the acclaim brought to the program and the school as a result. It must have been just an amazing time for you.
It was an amazing time, and I got to give a lot of credit to the coaching staff. They prepared us. And the thing about it is Tim Floyd was all about defense. We didn't have a lot of good shooting nights. We did not. But we stayed in the game because of our defense. And if you can defend, you always in a game, and you never out of it. And to go on there and win 18 games on the road like that, it wasn't easy, but it was all about a group effort. Starting with the coaching staff, down to the players, preparation, what we did the day before the game, all of that, shoot around. We couldn't laugh and joke and all that. We were serious about it all the time. And I got to give a lot of credit to Coach Floyd for preparing us for all those games.
Irvin, can you talk a little bit about? I've always thought about your team, and I always wanted to ask you about this. You guys had such an amazing group of bigs, and whether it was Fred playing as an undersized guy or Big Mike or Sidney, and you just keep going down the line. Like you had so many guys that were in reality really elite level pros that were playing and working with you. Like, how much did that factor in you being able to transition to the NBA and have so much success too?
Yes, you got to have somebody, that is going to get in that foxhole with. That is not going to leave. Fred Hill was undersized, but he was the toughest ass guy I played with, in college. And the work ethics was huge. Melvin Simon, Sidney Rice, Michael McDonald, all of those guys. We had athletic, good bigs that were grinded out, was tough. And they made me a better player. I made them a better player. And practice wasn't easy. So I was just grateful that I played with a lot of good bigs. And the game is won in the paint. The game is won in the paint. I don't care what nobody said. The game is won in the paint. I know the game has changed over time. In the NBA and all of that is all about outside shooting. But come down to reality, the game's won in the paint.
And Coach, that's a great
You're preaching
point.
to the choir for me. He's speaking my language.
I knew you'd love that. It's absolutely true. You built a championship team at UNO not just because of Eric, but you had special big guys, big imposing players who also put in the work on both ends of the floor, or that team doesn't reach the level that it does.
No, we had really a two-headed monster between having old guards, which are so important in a championship team to have old guards with, Kristavius, Nate, and Tevin. But then on the other side, the other head of the monster was Eric, McCord, and Thibodeau, where, we could hurt you a lot of different ways. And, Traven was a very talented passer, an underrated passer. And Eric could score from every spot on the floor. And then, McCord was our enforcer. He was the toughest dude out there every single night, and was probably unselfish to a fault a lot of times. But I think I'm with Irvin all the time on that. You got to establish inside and protect the house and protect the paint and work from the inside out if you're going to win. If you're going to win championships. I love playing fast. But I like winning a lot more than I like playing fast.
And it's fun to play fast when it starts on the defensive end and you get easy buckets because you create on that end. Your teams did that. Tim Floyd teams certainly did that. But I want to stick on the idea of analytics and the way the game has changed so much and it's affecting every level. You guys are stressing, and it's still obviously very important, the importance of the big man. Does it disappoint you some? I'll start with you, Irvin. Does it disappoint you some to see some of the physicality of the game and the game being played in the paint being taken away by the changes in basketball, the importance of the three-pointer and spreading the floor? A lot of people like it and think it's an improvement on the game, but not everybody feels that way.
I have mixed emotions about it. I wish the game was kind of more inside, but that's where it goes. You know what I'm saying? If you have a lot of bigs, you're going to go inside. Now the game is like you got a lot of stretch fours and all of that. Nobody want to play with their back against the basket. But I'd rather the old Pistons, Chicago, New York, the Spurs, play with your back against the basket. Shaq, all of that. I like that. Alonzo Mourning, that type. I like that. The guards, the ball is dominated by the guards right now. And it's too much one-on-one. But it sells, and that's what the people want to see, the entertainment. But I think it's going to come back where it's going to go back inside. I just hope I live long enough to see it, But it will come back around. But right now, it's all about the guards and dominating the ball. If you look at James Harden, he's going to dominate the ball. Everybody stands around. I like inside out, and then everybody play off of that. But I still watch it. I still enjoy watching it because I'm a fan of the game. But it's all about the inside for me.
And Eric, as a pro right now, you're somebody who was an undersized forward who did his best work on the baseline in the paint. Although you had a face-up game, I'm sure you're working every day to try to expand that range because of how important it is for all 5 players on the ball to be able to shoot from deep.
I mean, yeah, that's part of, putting in the work in the craft, knowing what you need to improve and work on to, become that elite player or get to the next level, get that next contract. Like like Irvin said, not a lot of guys want to go down there in that paint and get hit, throw a couple elbows, whatever you have to do to grind in that little paint. Not a lot of guys like that physicality. So if you can do that, do what the people don't want to do, that's what's going to keep you working. That's what's going to keep you becoming that player that everybody wants on their team. Whether you're a scrap guy, having that role, doing what nobody wants to do, will single you out and will make you a great player. So like obviously Irving was in his time, he was able to dominate in the paint and do what he wanted to do because he put the work in outside of the games, and it showed obviously. So the guys that I had, like Celeste said, we had a very experienced team. We had 2 bullies down there that were able to defend and be aggressive in that paint. I came in there a lot and helped as well. We had Mike Zeno. We had the young guys on Cheeseman. We had B-Rob, guys that wanted to get after it that was playing behind us, and we try to kind of pave the way for them and teach them the work they had to put in to be successful and have the career that we had. And they all did it, honestly. We all were able to lead the way and help them become better players, I think, and develop as a student of the game.
And Coach Celeste, that still works, doesn't it? The idea that you can build a team around a front court and physicality and play the style of game that you're going to attack the lane and you're going to attack the rim. Your team has a reputation in the Southland Conference as being the most physical team, the team that's going to fight you tooth and nail and play the hardness. So you recruit guys to be able to fit into that system and know what they need to do to be successful. But at the same time, you and your staff are always working with them on improving their games, what they need to be successful here, and you want to see them be successful if they make it on the next level as well.
Absolutely. We're always looking to see how we can improve their games and take them from good to great. We talk about that a lot, but we always want to be the tougher, more aggressive team. I think for us, we during even that time that Eric was there, I think we recognized we weren't a team full of shooters, and we played to our strengths and knew what our strengths were, and identified that, and the guys bought into that. I think you got to adapt and change and be able to pivot as a coach and try to get some things going with your team that give you the best opportunity to win. And you're always going to adapt and change a little bit, but I think you're going to recruit to your strength and to what brings you success. And I think we'll continue to do that and continue to try to be the toughest team and try to make the plays that are winning plays, not necessarily just haphazard plays. But I couldn't be happier about the direction that we're going in. And coming off a tough year last year, after really dominating the league for 3 years, we're very excited about the group that's coming in for next year as well.
Want to give Irvin a chance to answer a question, and we welcome folks that are in the chat to be able to ask questions for our panelists today. And a question from Jay Ori is, how would you compare Coach Floyd, his ability to work with you and help improve your game, and what he expected out of you versus the different coaches that you had in the NBA?
Coach Floyd, in college basketball, that's where you learn your fundamentals and you play as a team, and the coaches take more time to help develop you and the team. And the NBA is a little different. It's all about what you do on your own. Yes, they'll pass you the ball and all of that and try to assist you in any way possible to improve your game, but it's totally different from the college to the NBA. I like the college because you spend more time with your players. In the NBA, once the 2 hours is up, they're going on with their lives or whatever they want to do. But in college, you know, the coach spend a little bit more time to develop the players. And if I didn't have that coach, Tim Floyd, at that time, I don't know if I would ever become the player that I am. And my game was all about defense when I went to the NBA. So it all stemmed from Coach Floyd. From Coach Floyd, I got to give it to him. It started right there. I had to defend. I had to rebound. You know, if I didn't defend and rebound, I didn't play. You know, so I had to defend and rebound. And then when I started doing more of that, then he started running more plays and all that stuff for me. And he said, if you want it, you want the ball, you go get the rebound. Because I'm not going to run plays for you. But the more I did it, he got more confidence in me. And the NBA is totally different. You got your superstars and all of that. And everybody got to find their place on that team and play your role. And your role could be totally different from college to the NBA. Professional. It can be totally, totally different. You was a scorer in college, but you might not be that scorer in the NBA. And you got to accept that role if you want to have a longevity professional career.
We can't hear you, Jude.
There we go. Sorry about that. Eric, on that note, what kind of changes have you had to make and adjustments going from a successful situation, obviously, for you at UNO and now going to different professional teams and trying to fit in and give them what they want out of you?
Well, I mean, going in, my first 2 years was, you know, being a rookie out there wasn't the easiest. You know, I had to earn my time, honestly. I wasn't getting the minutes that I should have. Coach wasn't, you know, playing the veterans over me. But I was just able to keep working. It was sometimes, you know, it was upsetting and it can put somebody down, but I always looked at it as, you know, motivation. Just every summer when I go home, it makes me go harder, and I just got to wait for that opportunity. And the team out there gave me that. I was able to have success that season, and it opened up more contracts for me. So this year I had a bunch of offers. I was able to choose a team that, you know, the coach is very demanding, very strict, but, you know, he lets you play your game, lets you have fun out there, and that's what it's all about, honestly. Being able to give what the coach asks of you, as well as enjoying while doing it, because, you know, if you're not having fun out there, it can be very draining mentally. So you know, it's just helping me develop as a player each and every year. I'm becoming a veteran slowly but surely, getting older, but still enjoying it, doing what I love, and it's fun right now.
Coach Les, talking about what we're going to ask all three of our panelists that are available right now, starting with you about memories. I know as a coach, you're always looking ahead to the next game, to the next season right now, and preparing your team as best you can, and what have been difficult times to do so, obviously. But looking back on your 9 seasons at UNO, there have to be certain memories that you occasionally allow yourself to look back on and remember as those special moments. Sometimes they don't even happen necessarily in games, but there have to be moments that stand out above the rest, considering what you went through with the roller coaster to stabilize the program and get it back to its winning ways.
Yeah, a couple that will always stand out in my mind, just from Eric's senior year in particular, was, you know, going to the NCAA tournament and playing in Dayton. Dayton is such a special basketball city, and that arena is amazing in the way that we're treated. And I always, haven't been there before, played in that arena before when I was an assistant at Northwestern State, and winning there. I had the experience to know when the guys were coming in, and I took a step back and I just watched them. And there's moments as a coach that you take mental pictures and you kind of tuck them away in your heart for down the road. And there's a lot of moments that I was able just to sit back and watch and see the looks on their faces when we walk in and go down that ramp, and there's that brand new blue royal carpet going to our locker room, and just how the guys were treated, and walking in that locker room and then going out for practice. Just seeing them they were living their dreams. They were living all their childhood dreams of making the NCAA tournament. And those moments I really took and put away. And then one other one was random, and Eric will remember this, but we had a crazy run in the non-conference where we didn't trail for 3 straight games. We had all 120 minutes. You'll remember that too, Jude. And so one of them was when we beat the community college from uptown, Tulane, and led them for 40 minutes straight. And then we went out to Washington State and played them, and we led for 40 minutes straight. But we were in the hotel in Pullman, and we just had some board games, some different things, and we were playing, and just the guys didn't have their phones out. We were just together and laughing. And I just remember how hard the guys laughed and the enjoyment we had. And then we randomly went across to Coach Floyd's old stomping grounds. We went across the state line to Moscow, Idaho, to eat supper because we wanted to check another state off the list. And Mike Zeno and Christavius. Mike Zeno trying to explain to Christavius that Moscow was a city in Idaho and that we weren't in Russia was entertaining, to say the least. So just some crazy things like that that didn't have anything to do with the game itself. But those are the moments that as a coach you kind of tuck away in your heart and love and appreciate. And those were fun.
I remember that trip well, and remember the win over the Green Wave, and you were kind that day, taking your foot off the gas, as I recall. That was a pretty fun evening in Lakefront Arena, and just talk about that, Eric. Your fond memories at UNO over those 2 years. Again, it may be something that happened off the floor, bonding with your teammates, but obviously great moments like going to Dayton and winning in Katy to go to the NCAA tournament.
I mean, my most memorable one, I would say, is just, winning that conference tournament. When that clock hits 0, it's that feeling, all at once. You have all the whole season's emotions kind of hits you at once. So having that feeling, knowing that you just won and you're the best team out of the whole conference, it was unexplainable. We had a big crowd for that final game as well. My family was there. Everybody was watching on television who couldn't make it. And just being able to enjoy that moment alone, winning that game, it's an unexplainable, feeling, honestly. Being able to cut down that net, enjoying with your teammates. I would say that was one of my best on-court moments. And then off-court moments, we had stories for days. One of my favorite ones that's kind of the key point was when we were out in California when we played USC. We went out to what's that beach called? What was that?
Venice Beach.
We went to Venice Beach. And it was just, like Slush said, it was another moment where guys wasn't really on their phones, and if they were, it was to take pictures. But we were able to walk on the water a little bit, see a different culture. Some guys, it was their first time in California, and we were just able really just to bond more, get to know each and every each player's story, and just really see a new culture. Honestly, a lot of guys wasn't used to being out in California. And it was a new experience also for me, playing in a big arena like that. That USC arena is beautiful. We fought with them guys, and it was a game that was enjoyable as well. So honestly, my 2 years in UNO I would have stories for days with each and every player on and off the court. We had community service where we would go bowling, and we would really enjoy our time as well. We used to do that with the Special Olympics as well, go bowling with them. Those were also another memorable moment with me, be able to spend time with those guys and give back to the community as well. We did so much work with the school, trying to help the area out, the community out. Slush was always, putting the community first and making sure we were on those front lines, putting that work in. So it was something that transition that molded us into being men, and having those countless stories in our lives for the rest of our lives, honestly. So it was great.
Same question for you, Irvin. Just those memories that stand out both on and off the court during your time at UNO. There have to be at least a couple that stand a little bit above the rest.
Yes, I'm gonna tell you the transition that UNO really took off. It wasn't about me. It was about when we got Melvin Simon. He was an All-American, a McDown All-American. And when Coach Florida was able to recruit him and sign him, we all knew that he was going to make me a better player and take the program to the next level. People say I did, but I would say Melvin Simon. Melvin Simon, I got to give credit where credit is due. He got me the ball a lot. He was the All-American, and I got all the attention and all of that. So I would say Melvin Simon started that program on the right track. A lot of memorable games. I just remember all the battles with Tulane. I remember the battle with USC where they had all the talent offensively, and we was going to defend them, and Coach Floyd prepared us very well. Darren Last, Fred Hill. I'm saying no because they were seniors with me. The times we spent together, I was roommates with both of them, and just getting in the gym, working all the time. I got all the attention, but those two guys made me a better player as well. Michael McDonald, Sidney Rice with great athletes, talent out of the world. Probably should have made it to the NBA, both, and stayed there for a long time. Probably had the career that I had, and they made me a better player in college. Going to the NIT tournament. All those times we went to the NIT and we lost in the NC2A tournament, but it was a great experience for me. One thing I think that was really changed my way of thinking and took my career off, Tim Floyd allowed me to go on the road as a redshirt freshman. And he wanted me to get that feel. And when I got that feel and that little taste and seeing all the excitement from my teammates, even though I wasn't playing, I knew I wanted to get back there. That made me work harder. All the coaches that spent all the time. I would never forget all the coaches. That I owe a lot of credit for a lot of those people. They're the ones who made Irvin Johnson. I have to give it to them. They made Irvin Johnson. Irvin Johnson didn't make them. They made Irvin Johnson. They knew some of the things, how to get up underneath my skin. Sanders, Coach Floyd definitely knew how to get underneath my skin. He used to always tell me, I'm reading to me in a newspaper article when I knew damn well I wasn't reading any, but he knew that would piss me off. And all of those things I would never forget. And I'm so grateful for the university, the athletic department, my teammates, coaching staff for making Irvin Johnson the person that I am today.
Rivalries matter in college ball as much as any. And great rivalries for you, Irvin, when we talk about matchups as conference rivals back then with Louisiana Tech and USL, then USL at the time, and obviously Tulane. Those have to be games that really stand out. If you could give your thoughts about those matchups, there was always an extra bit of intensity to those.
Oh, the Tulane one is just like two teams in the same city, and who had the best team? We didn't like them, they didn't like us. You know what I'm saying? All the battles, the coaches, I don't think they like each other either. You know what I'm saying? And we always wanted to be the top dog in New Orleans. So when we played each other, it was always a battle. The fans was always engaged in the game, all of that. We lost a few, that we won some too. Louisiana Tech, it was a dogfight. That's all I got to say. Louisiana Tech, it was like, who had the best front line? Was it UNO or Louisiana Tech? P.J. Brown and his crew and Irvin Johnson and Melvin Simon and all that. It was always who had the best front line. Louisiana Tech was a battle. Low scoring. P.J. Brown, I have so much respect for him. It was all like, every time I played against him, it was like we both wanted to outdo each other, but we both didn't have great games against each other. So I just say, all those memories against those teams, USC, Louisiana, Southeastern, they was offensive minded, straight offensive minded. We knew they couldn't guard anybody, but they gave us a lot of trouble. It was like how we shut those guys down. But all those memories are great, and I would never forget any of those teams and the players I played against.
And Coach Celeste, I know you've tried to be able to schedule Tulane. Sometimes that's a bit difficult, and we have been able to play the Raging Cajuns quite a bit and continuing to work on that moving forward. But new blossoming rivalries in-state amongst the Southland teams, even though UNO was working its way back up to being championship level, there was still a target on the Privateers' backs because those other programs that maybe hadn't had as much in the accomplishment area as the Privateers. They wanted a piece of UNO, and those games definitely meant something, and you got pulled into a rivalry right away with the matchups in the league.
There's no doubt. I think anytime, I think that Irvin and even going back, if you go back to what Coach Green and those guys did right off the bat and going to the championship and to the Final Four multiple times, there's some schools that are basketball schools, and it's pretty cool that I get to be the head coach at a basketball school, not a football school, but I'm at a basketball school, and that's a big deal. And no matter what, when you go around the state, and in the region, when New Orleans shows up, it's a different game. And then when we've had the success we've had, over in the last few years, it's a bigger deal. But when we show up and play, people are ready to go, and I enjoy that. I think as a competitor and just a coach, man, you crave that. You expect it, and you want it. So that's been fun to see, and good to get some rivalries going with new people, and we're always going to play a national non-conference schedule. That's who we are. It's who we've been from day one. And you go back and look at, we've had the top 5 strength of schedule each of the last 5 years. The top 10 and in the top 5 last year. So we're always going to go out and play people. We're never going to back down and not go out and do that. I think that's a bedrock of who we are.
And Eric, when you talk about rivalries that have blossomed for UNO, now a member of the Southland Conference, we also have to obviously look over into the state of Texas. And when UNO came into the league, Stephen F. Austin was the team to beat. And when you think of the championship season, you have to think of that awesome performance at Lakefront Arena, dominant win over the Lumberjacks that really staked UNO's claim in February of that season that they were there to win the league. I know that game means a lot to you. I just remember the emotion and the feeling from the team and being a part of that just as an announcer, how much that particular game meant even before going to the conference tournament, because that set the stage for winning the regular season title and was the springboard to everything else.
Well, yeah, I mean, that rivalry with the Lumberjacks with Stephen F. Austin, it was hard because, for one, they were coming off a 3-4 year run. When you're a team that wins the conference for the last 3-4 years, you're already coming in with that cocky vibe that you're going to go and beat every team. So us coming in on the team we had, we came and punched them in the chin as soon as the game started. And just put our foot on the gas. We're able to just keep on pushing and kind of set a message out to the whole conference. And from there on, it just, we beat Tulane as well. That some things never change over time, I guess. But that rivalry's still there. We don't like them. They don't like us. We try to have, the crown of the city. Some things don't change over time, and those are one of them. But I would say, just those rivalries is just good to experience. Having that kind of surrounding in the gym, being able to compete in front of all the fans, guys, people yelling, the crowd's going crazy, coaches as well, trying to calm everything down during a storm because it's, already hard to hear. Guys are real emotional. Their adrenaline is pumping. So being able to experience those games and those rivalries it's just one of those things that don't change over time, and you just kind of appreciate the moment and send that message out. Well, every time you play one of those teams, you're playing for something, and in our case, it was to show who's the better team.
We have one more question to get through from the chat before we wrap things up today. For Irvin, and I'm sure you get this question a lot. It's a combo question because the first part of it's probably easy to answer and it leads into the second. Who is the best player, and you go into the NBA, obviously you're playing the best in the world. Who's the best player that you ever faced? And I'm not answering it for you, but the second part of the question is, LeBron or MJ? Who's better?
Okay, the best player that I ever played for is inside, I would say
Right.
Keem Olajuwon. Yes, Shaq, Alonzo Mourning, Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, all those are great players. I would never take anything away from them. But Keem Olajuwon gave me the toughest battle. Because he had so many different moves and all of that, and it was just difficult to guard him. Now, if you would say which one I would pick, MJ or LeBron, I like both. MJ was unstoppable. Now, hold up.
Wait, hold up,
Let me
Eric.
finish.
Hold
I
on.
haven't finished yet.
Hold on
I
now.
haven't finished. MJ is unstoppable. His mindset and his mental toughness was unstoppable. But if I had to say which one, I would say I'd put LeBron a little bit up there. If you take the rings away,
You can't take the rings away, though.
But you can't. But team, the rings is about team. But individual game, LeBron James got better stats than Michael Jordan. Go look it up. Go look it up.
Eric, you have the floor. Go ahead, retort here.
If the rings are team sport, and MJ got him beat. But if you say who have the better stats in all around game, you got to give it to LeBron.
So I got a question for you, Irvin. Here we go. So who would you put on your team, LeBron, or you put MJ on your team?
Both. I want both.
You got to choose one.
He's right, Irvin. You have to choose one. If you had to choose one, and you're trying to win.
Give me MJ.
All right. That's what I.
Because here's the deal. I played against MJ, and during that time, after watching The Last Dance, I watched every episode, all of them.
Me too.
I didn't realize how Michael willed his teammates to play at a higher level and play on, not his level, but play at a higher level. He brought out the best in them. Yes, he was a hard teammate to play with, but he knew what he needed to get out of them for him to be successful. I don't know if LeBron did do it that way. LeBron might do it totally different. Not saying it's wrong or right, but I have a lot of respect for the way how Michael do it, or how he did it, and I have respect for LeBron, how he do it. Both. LeBron.
I got to ask you this, because we're talking about Michael Jordan. We're talking about you playing on a team against Michael Jordan in the NBA Finals and that Last Dance documentary. If Gary Payton would have guarded Michael Jordan from Game 1 in that series, could your Sonics have beaten those Bulls?
No. Listen, I wish I could say that it was, we could have done it if Gary Payton would have been on the whole time. But MJ, Scotty, Dennis Rodman, they had the better team.
Bus right now? Did we just transport into a road trip? That's what this is.
This is the best. This is for all of you guys watching and want to know what traveling is like with a Division I college basketball team or probably an NBA team. This is what it's like. Every meal, every hotel, we're waiting at the airport at the gate. It's these questions every time of who's better here, who's better than, who would have, how would it won. This is what it is all the time. And it's the best. I love it. There's nothing better than it. You know, we went through a whole thing last year where I and I'm glad that the Last Dance happened because I was trying to explain them, and Irvin, you can I was trying to explain them that Isaiah Thomas would destroy a lot of these guards that are in the league right now because they can't get touched. And I said Joe Dumars and Isaiah would destroy them because they're equally as skilled, but they're way more physical. And so but these guys couldn't understand. They couldn't wrap their head around literally how good Isaiah Thomas was. They had no idea. And so it was a lot of fun.
Here's another one. Everybody looked at Golden State. They looked at Steph Curry and the team. They won last three out of whatever with Kevin Durant and all them guys. Listen, they would have never been able to make it in the time I played in the 90s. It's no way.
Correct. That was the argument. That's the argument I was trying to tell them. There's no way.
Steph Curry's body is not a big physical storm, and I played with his dad. But beating him up, they allow you to beat him up.
That
Hand
physical
check and all of that. He would never been able to make it.
different.
I'm just sorry. It's a different game.
Yep, that different era.
Draymond can't even be considered a bully in your era. Draymond is just
Draymond
another guy.
Green was a bully. He's a bully, and he's a very talented young kid, and I got to give it to him. And he have really mastered his craft. He's really not a great shooter. He's a decent athlete, but he got the toughness. They don't win championship without Draymond Green. I don't care what nobody says. They do not win championship without Draymond Green.
He was the glue guy.
He was the guy. You know what? Because you look at Klay Thompson, he's not a tough guy. Steph Curry's not a tough guy. Kevin Durant is not a tough guy. He is the difference. He brings their toughness on both ends of the floor. Both ends of the floor. So those guys are great offensive players, but they cannot win without Draymond Green. And I got to give that to Draymond Green. He is the X factor. He is the difference.
And when it comes to privateer basketball legends, it always goes back to toughness and defense, doesn't it? I think it's the perfect way to wrap this up. I wish we could have had Coach Floyd. Technical difficulties. We'll try to do something like this again, Coach Sless, and figure out a way to get him on the air.
Coach Floyd wanted me to tell Irvin, Michael, Fred, all you guys that are on that, don't be surprised. Him and Kermit Davis could not figure out how to get on here and get it done. They're also at the fishing camp, so he said, give him a pass this time, and they'll be on the next. So.
All right, not a problem. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Irvin. They're better coaches, fortunately, to make their living that way. Thanks so much, Irvin. Eric, thanks so much for the time. Good luck with you in the career, obviously representing the University of New Orleans. And Coach Les, it's not that far away. We'll be back on the road again trying to win a Southland Conference championship.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much. It was great being on here today.
Thanks to everybody who joined. A link to the replay of the chat will be emailed to you. We appreciate the Alumni Association so much for helping the athletic department put this together, and it's been my pleasure to be a part of this. Again, look out for the email for the full replay of this. I've covered a lot, and I think we had a really good time celebrating the history of UNO basketball and getting a feel for what it's like in the background of the team and key figures that have brought championships to the lakefront. Again, thanks so much for joining us, and hopefully we can do this again real soon.